Tapia, and our topic is American culturalism from colonial period to post-revolutionary / Civil War era. My source's author is Claude S. Fisher, a retired American professor of sociology and demography at UC Berkeley. In his source, Claude expresses the fact that American culture has been heavily shaped by the thought and implementation of voluntarism and national character. When Fisher points out the Civil War, he implies that Americans' national character was once a pure white, pro-slavery identity that further developed into a anti-slavery / abolitionist identity, at the realization that African Americans lacked the voluntarism that white Americans did. He expresses that the mainstream idea that Americans choose becomes the national character of the country, becoming the leading factor to a change in culture. An example of the voluntarism that Fisher talks about is the American Revolution and the fact that Americans wants to free thinking and individualism motivated them to cut off from British rules, laws, and culture. Voluntarism again was also a motivating factor for the colonies and even the Quakers. Sorry, give me a second. Even the Quakers, as they found that it was a place where they had to free themselves from British rule and identity in order to build a new nation in which they were free to express their culture. Voluntarism again was also a motivating factor for the societies in which Fisher is an expert in revealing, and honestly, I feel like I can't explain it all too well as his article explains much more in a clearer fashion. Using his source, however, I can dig deeper into the topics like the ones I have discussed that were in the source. I'd recommend for yourselves to read it because honestly, his source reveals so much more about American cultures, voluntarism, and national character than I can say in a short amount of time. Well, one thing I would like to say is that the voluntarism is a key point that you cannot neglect in American culture because even though it has not really been talked about, I'd say that in this time period, past the 1990s, his topic and this topic of American culturalism really changes the way that we view American culture from the colonial period into which, like I said, the Quakers freed themselves from American politics or from British rule and motivated them to making their own nation, which they could seek individual freedom and free thought. This once again led to the American Revolution, in which the Americans saw that it was their place to free themselves from British rule, to seek independence and free thinking. Once again, in the Civil War, but also you can say in the women's rights movement, in which Americans felt that it was right for women to also be participated in the voluntarism ideal, and that the national character soon shaped to be pro women's rights and liberation rights.
Me or Jay?
You.
All right. Hello. I'm Joshua Gutierrez. Um, my article is colonial identity and revolutionary loyalty. The case of British North America. Our topic was American culturalism from the colonial period to the post-revolution, and my source looked at how colonial identity changed in British North America from the colonial period to post-revolution, and this was by Sarah Ye. It focuses on the cultural and political changes that occurred and had effects on specific changes. One of the big topics that I took a big part of and really sat down and listened, I would say it talks about, I would say how the colonists felt very connected to the British customs and institutions and saw themselves as an important part of the empire. But problems came, and they all were mainly involving money, on how they took care of taxes. Not many people liked it, so they disagreed on that topic a lot. And social problems like the need for independence. That was one of the big topics that was talked about. All of this led to the identity starting to become less secure. The Revolutionary War caused a change that forced colonists to rethink who they were, led to the creation of the American identity, different from the British society. So it led to a separation between them, and it led to the creation of American identity themselves. Also shows how speeches, pamphlets, and shows changed how people thought about loyalty and identity in general. I would say this important was it hit our topic pretty well, and especially if you want to learn about how American culture changed and grew as other cultures came into our country and had to adapt. I think this is a perfect fit with your interest in the colonial and post revolutionary times. It looks at how British and colonies shared their cultures, shows how that colonial identity was based on British culture at first, but changed due to the outside influences and changes with the colony itself. And yeah, that's pretty much it about my source. Closes it out.
All right. All right. Moving on next. Do you want to go next, GA?
Okay. Wait. I have one more. Forgot this part. This is similar to Project's focus on how different cultural factors help shape American identity. At the end of the day, all this led to American identity itself.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
All right.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jie, and the article I choose is The Struggle for American Culture. The author is James A. Moron from Brown University, and this article was published in 1993. This article covers the development of American culture from the early colonial period to 1990s. The main theme of this article is that the American culture started from the Puritan culture, which featured in embracing of individualism, hardworking, and dissent of government interference and free market and competition. And this culture, because of its nature of overcoming the competition, it introduced the group at the margin of the society to struggle their way to the mainstream of the culture. And if any idea or groups win the competition, and they will become part of the culture mainstream, and those who lose the competition will be pushed to the margin. And the changing of the American culture is by including more and more cultures, like the Black people's culture and the Indian people's culture, and all these groups compete against each other, or not against each other, but to struggle for the legitimacy. So the American culture become multiculturalism, but there were a lot of voices to questioning about this multiculturalism throughout the history, because some people worry about the fragmentation of the culture. They worry about the disuniting of the country. And so this is a little different from what we learned in the class of the historiography terms, forth and back. The path of the historiography more like a tree. It grows new branches but the main trunk is still there. The American culture includes more and more minorities culture, but it remains it roots from the Puritan culture, but including more branches. It's not the whole turn of the culture. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha. All right. I have something to say, but I'll mention it at the end because I feel like that also relates to kind of what I talked about. But I'll talk more about it in the end. For right now, you just want to go, Casey, about what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
My name is Casey Jones. My article is Albion Seed for British Folkways in America by David Hackett Fisher. And I think Fisher's like main theme about the source was the cultural practices and values of the four British folkways, which were the Puritans, Cavaliers, Quakers, and Borders, are really what shaped American culture and its society. I think his work is important because it really emphasized like how these British folkways set the stage for a dynamic and evolving American culture. Um, and I think his work also helps to understand the concept of culturalism in America from the colonial period through the post-revolutionary period, hence our topic. So, um, and I also think his argument was that like understanding these roots is like super crucial to like comprehending the regional differences and cultural dynamics that still exist in the United States today. Um, yeah, that's really all I have.
All
So
right. So like what Josh was talking about, and what Jay was talking about, like my source also mentions how Quakers. Oh, also like how you said, Quakers were like they came to America obviously because they wanted to seek their own independence, their own like right to their own cultures, to their own religion, and I'd say that also connects to Josh's because basically he said that when the colonists arrived in America, they still adapted to British rule, British laws, British culture, but soon
Yeah.
it developed into them wanting to seek their own independence, which once again led to like the American Revolution. Because, like you said, they didn't like the taxes, they hated it, they constantly rebelled against it. Yeah, that's
Independent
another.
as well.
Yeah,
And everything.
that's
Yeah.
another example of like the voluntarism. Because basically, what voluntarism is like is the need to like be independent, to be a free thinker, to like have your own choice. And I feel like that our sources are connected in that fashion, in which that it shows that America did start with like the British rule, and like it all came with the colonists to America, but it soon developed into them seeking their independency from voluntarism, as my source mentions.
All right. That was
Right.
what I had. I think one of the connections I have is with GA and also about the independence. I mean, he talked about the indigenous wanting to be free and stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that all goes back to like the need for like having social problems, and
Yeah.
which led to the independence of like the thought of independence. All came from social problems and
100%.
social rankings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think
Because
that was one of our connections.
obviously like throughout American culture, it's been more cultures like because at first it was just the British, but then the natives came, and then
Yeah.
African Americans, slaves, and then uh, the Irish. It all is like a mix of cultures and everything. So obviously it turned to like who's American, who's not, like how we talked about in class. And so like they made a statement of like why don't we all just like as whoever is in America, we're just free with each
Yeah.
other, which like obviously led to the Civil War. It's like all, even if like regardless of color, race, like place of origin, you're all like just free because that ideology shaped from like people wanting it from like that independent thinking.
Also, in the Civil War, I don't know if this was from class or not. Didn't everyone like was that the war where everyone kind of like they brought everyone together, and they were like, okay, just fight for us, and then you get freedom?
Yeah, so
Was
basically,
that
it's like Abraham Lincoln, basically.
a
Well, it's been in two wars. It's been like in the American Revolution, but also like the Civil War.
okay?
Basically, like Abraham Lincoln was like, "Hey, if you fight for us, like I'll secure your freedom." Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. And also, like for
I
the
mean,
Union Confederacy, because it was
it all just goes back to wanting independence and
yeah,
wanting freedom
yeah,
and stuff.
and that's what Fisher really talks about. He talks about that volunteerism was the motivating factor because people, in the end of the day, they just wanted to be free thinkers, free individuals. And
Yeah,
honestly, that's what led to like even what we have now. I would argue is like that's still what America is the need for people to wanting to be independent.
I agree.
All right. You guys have any more remarks, comments you guys want to make?
Yes, based on James Moore's article, at one side, American people pursue the freedom and enjoying their freedom, and on the other side, sometimes people worry what is the boundary of this freedom, and if the freedom creates too much diversity of the society,
Yeah.
what can we do? Do we need to limit such freedom, or do anything to constrain the people? So there are always debating about the freedom. So that's the struggle for American culture. Yeah.
So I feel like
The
yeah.
American culture is featured by its freedom and struggling.
I feel like that's like some yeah. I feel like even though our sources were talking about like obviously independence and freedom, I feel like that brings up a new question of like to what degree was the freedom limited? Like how were like cultures restricted or how was it limited to the point where it was like okay we're gonna confine you to a certain space and you guys can only grow within that space. So maybe it's like we grew because there was a certain constraint of how cultures could express themselves. So I feel like that's like something new that we can look forward into with this information.
Yeah, I mean, all these sources are gonna open up our eyes and want make us learn more.
100%. I agree. All right then.
I mean,
Uh,
oh,
any more comments? Last minute comments because our call ends like in a minute.
oh damn! I don't really got none. I let it all on the table.
All right, all cards were played.
I think also like the struggle for American culture, what G's like topic is like a little bit similar to like some of the parts on mine where it's like he talks about like how the different groups like shape the nation and stuff, and like mine is like kind of similar to that too, where he talks about it. But yeah, I mean, just kind of saw that a little bit right now.
Yeah,
So
the similarity I saw it too. Yeah, I see what
yeah,
you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a competition among
Yeah.
different groups.
Yeah, of like who's gonna be like the dominant one, who's gonna be the
Free
dominant
and struggling.
Right then, I guess that concludes our Zoom call of our project. All right. I'm gonna post this on YouTube, hopefully, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to submit the file because it's too big. No way, the balloons, bro. All right then, pues.
I didn't know that was gonna happen.
All right then. So I'll see you guys on Monday, all right?